Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. Today, Cain steeled his nerves as the ferry chugged away from the Dutch coastline. The wind bit at his face, and the salt spray stung his eyes, but he didn't care. He had come this far for one reason: closure. One final confrontation with John. Back in the Dales, the pain of losing his son Nate still haunted him every day, the unanswered questions, the lies, the betrayal. John had fled, the authorities still chasing shadows, and Cain had refused to rest. Now, armed with a few leads, an old contact overseas, and sheer doggedness, Cain had traveled across the sea to Rotterdam, a foreign city, unfamiliar turf, because John's trail had gone cold, until now. Cain stepped off the ferry into Rotterdam's vast container port at dusk. Cranes loomed like giants, trucks lumbered past, and the air smelled of diesel and seaweed. He glared at his surroundings, scanning the faces, remembering the image he'd been shown: John's face next to the registration of a hired van, the logo of a logistics firm, a plate from the Netherlands. He'd come alone. No backup. Not trusting anyone except himself. Nate's memory demanded that. He checked into a modest hotel near the Lloyd Pier terminal. In the dim light of his room, he studied the photographs: John and a contact named Caleb, a name he'd heard whispers of in the Dales. John had used a van, hid in the back, crossed borders. The story in the village had been murky: John's exit sudden, his associates nervous, his trail vanishing. But the port, that ringed harbor, was where Cain believed John would surface. He tapped his phone, one message sent to his Dales contact: "I'm on it." Then he turned off the screen, unclenched his jaw and tried to rest. Sleep was distant. Rage and grief were his companions. The next morning, gray skies hung low. Cain navigated the port area, skirted warehouses, asked dockworkers innocuous questions in broken Dutch and English. He learned of a truck registered under a subsidiary, arriving early that morning. Driver changed at the customs gate, the back sealed until Rotterdam Zuid. The description matched. Cain's heart hammered. He followed the lead to a loading bay. A large white van with sealed rear doors sat idle. He approached cautiously. Two men unloading crates moved aside. A third figure, hunched in the driver's cab, caught Cain's eye. The face, familiar. John. John Sugden. Cain's voice cut across the roar of trucks. The man froze. The crates shuddered. John stepped out slowly. "Cain Dingle," he said softly, as though greeting someone long overdue. Cain advanced. "You ran. You left him dead. My son." His voice trembled. "Now you're hiding in Rotterdam of all places." John looked around. He looked tired. He looked defeated. "You shouldn't be here," he said quietly. "You don't know what you're messing with." "I know enough," Cain snapped. "Enough to bring you back. Enough to make you answer for Nate." He leaned forward, fists clenched. "You think you can walk away? That you can hide?" John's gaze dropped to the pavement. Then he clenched his jaw. "I couldn't stay. I had to leave. It never should have gone like that," his voice faltered. Cain's eyes burned. "Shouldn't have? My boy is gone." John swallowed. I know. He paused. "You don't understand the shit I'm in." Cain stayed silent. The traffic hummed. A distant horn. A liftgate slamming. Then Cain exhaled. "I'm gonna drag you back whether you like it or not." John's jaw dropped. "You don't have the means." Cain smirked. "I don't need means. I just need you." And in that moment, John knew. They walked toward a quieter side of the port. The crates, the trucks, the hissing hydraulics, all big and loud, but irrelevant now. Just two men, past shadows, and what would come now. Cain stopped near the water's edge. The gray sea lapped. "Explain," he said. "Explain everything. Why you killed him. What you thought you were doing." John's eyes flickered to the sea. It wasn't meant to be like that. He saw something. He threatened something. I panicked. Cain's heart pounded. You murdered him. John flinched. Yeah. The word hung. Then, but I thought I had no choice. Cain's face hardened. You always have a choice. A long silence. Then John turned. I'm tired, Cain. I'm done running. Cain nodded. Good. Because you're coming home. And you're answering. And Nate's memory, it's not going away just because you fled. John clenched his fists. There are people after me. Things I wasn't ready for you to walk into. His voice was husky. I've been hiding. Smuggling. Moving. You have no idea what I've seen. Cain replied quietly, what I saw was a dead son. What you saw doesn't matter. The wind whipped as trucks rumbled past. John looked at Cain, bewildered. For a moment, a glimmer of respect. You're relentless. I'm a father, Cain said. And I'll walk into hell for him. John nodded. Then make your choice. Suddenly, footsteps behind them. A security guard shouting. Cain tensed. John took a step back. Shit. They broke apart. The guard barked in Dutch. Cain turned to John. Now. John nodded and led the way. They ran toward a service road near the trucks. Cain followed. John darted between stacks of metal containers. Cain kept up. The guard shouted again, pounding footsteps behind. John slipped into a narrow path between two containers. Cain followed. Between dark shadows, they emerged near a lorry idle at its cab. John opened its rear. Inside, crates were stacked up. A small hatch at the side. Go on, John said. Cain paused. Get in. Cain glared. What? John's face was grim. They'll be coming. This is the only exit I know. Cain hesitated. But hearing the guard's boots pounding, he leapt in beside John into the darkness of the truck back. Rubberized flooring, crates blocking light. He pulled the hatch shut. The truck rolled. They rattled down the motorway. Inside, Cain stood. You're not getting away from this. John exhaled. I'm not going anywhere. Their journey, the hum of the engine, the road's vibration, a metaphor for the reckoning underway. Cain's rage, John's guilt, the inevitable confrontation to come. Later, the truck stopped at a service station. It was night. The doors opened. John sidestepped. This is the drop-off. He pointed to a white van parked under a street lamp. After you go, that van takes me to a boat. I've got a flight. You know what you do next. Cain stepped out into the yellow halo of the lamp. He looked at John. You're not flying anymore. You're going back. John swallowed. I won't fight you. Cain's voice softened just a fraction. No. I don't expect you to. But I expect you to face what you did. The wind rustled overhead. A car pulled up. Motion in the shadows. John flinched. Cain grabbed him. Stay here, he said to John. Then he turned and confronted the driver of the van parked nearby. The driver revved the engine and sped off into the motorway. Cain returned to John. We go together. John nodded. The realization came, resistance was over. But his fear remained, of exposure, of prison, of what his actions had wrought. As dawn broke over Rotterdam's harbor, the truck pulled into a sealed goods yard. Cain exited first, then John. Authorities awaited. Cain's Dales contact, the local liaison from the British consulate and Dutch police. John's face drained of color as officers approached. One took John's ID. Another explained his rights. John's lips trembled. Cain's gaze never wavered. The cold North Sea air cut between them. Finally, John looked at Cain. I'm sorry. Cain closed his eyes, the lump in his throat real. Sorry doesn't bring him back. John nodded. I know. Cain stepped forward. He placed a hand on John's shoulder, not in reconciliation, but in acknowledgement. You'll answer. And I'll be there. Every step. John didn't nod. He didn't speak. Then the officers led him away. Cain watched them go. The skyline of Rotterdam glowed behind him, indifferent, vast. He turned to the sea. He thought of Nate. He thought of the Dales. He felt fatigue wash over him, but also something lighter, a step toward peace. The chase was over, the reckoning had begun. Back in the village, news would spread. Cain had gone overseas, found John, brought him back. Some would applaud. Others would fear what it meant. Because Cain Dingle didn't just stop when he found him. He would keep going until Nate's memory mattered, until justice, maybe not perfect, was served. As he boarded the ferry home, he cast one last glance at Rotterdam. The lights faded behind him. In his heart, he held the ache of loss, but also the small flicker of hope. He had looked his son's killer in the eyes. And he had made him answer.